A beautiful model named Ari catches the eye of a mentally ill man who works at a convenience store. He has been stalking her, collecting her used pads, underwear, and magazines. One day, when Ari least expects it, he kidnaps her. He locks her in a small box within his house. The outside of the room is filled with garbage and debris, a reflection of his muddled psyche. What happens when the two discover that they aren't so different? When victim becomes subjected to Stockholm Syndrome, and captor becomes, well, whatever that is. Stay tuned to find out. So before I start this video, I would like to make a warning for the following. And another thing I wanted to point out is that for manga, you read from right to left, so if you're unfamiliar with that, it can get a bit confusing. Without further ado, let's begin. So when we're first introduced to Ari's family, it's apparent that their dynamic is an unusual one, and her father is making a disgusting comment about women's clothing choice, and also calling both Ari and her mother ugly, which is, just normal dinner conversation. Now the next scene is where things begin to escalate. Ari's father has been coming to teach Ari when her mother is away, and his looming presence harbors something predatory and suffocating, although nothing has happened yet, but you can get the sense that there is tension. Ari does state to her mother that she is scared, but children are often susceptible and targets of abuse because they are unable to recognize harmful behaviors, and the abusers are often able to manipulate their trust and use semantics to further avoid responsibility. Her mother's response is what baffled me, but also at the same time, dismissing your daughter means that you probably know what type of man you married. A statistic from RAINN states that 93% of child victims know their perpetrators. So while you're taught to fear the white van and the ice cream truck, it actually is more common for the predator to be within your inner circle and even your house. And sadly, Ari is eventually abused by her father. One day, Ari is at home and she hears her mother on a call. And what she hears is shocking. Her mother was aware of the abuse the entire time. And one of the things that pissed me off about this, because there are many things wrong, but it's the fact that she's blaming her daughter and acting like she's the sick one. How can you say, what is that kid, keyword kid, thinking, while being repulsed by the act? It's like, what a joke. In high school, she is adored by others and she is recognized as a model and appearing to have a good life at home. She decides to fight back, and although met with resistance, she is determined to reclaim her life and uses modeling as both an outlet and a source of income. However, she is troubled with nightmares and often throws up, leading me to believe that she struggles with PTSD. Luckily for Ari, she is able to sign with an agency and escape her household, but only to fall back into the hands of another abuser. Let's talk about Hiro's childhood. Hiro and Ari's childhood is two sides of the same coin. While Ari and her family maintain a facade, Hiro was an outsider. At school, everyone is aware of Hiro's home life. And I'm sorry, but where's CPS? If the children know he's living in filth, then surely the teachers do as well, but I don't know. In addition to living in deplorable conditions, Hiro's mother is abusing him, also claiming that he looks just like his father and she's glad that she trained him early. And then we have the psychological torture. Hiro gets locked in the same box that he locks Ari in, which of course is tied to the cycle of abuse. An article from Very Well Mind describes a cycle occurring when people who are sexually abused in childhood may have a higher risk of being in an adult relationship where they are abused, physically, emotionally, or sexually. In some cases, people who are victimized may become abusers themselves. As another form of punishment, Hiro is chained to a dirty bathroom for an extended period of time. To prevent his mother from torturing him any further, he pretends to like it. Now what's going on is a few things. Hiro's mother is using negative reinforcement, which is when she removes an unpleasant stimulus to achieve a certain desired outcome. And Hiro's brain is associating the abuse with something positive since it's tied to a feeling of safety and relief from the negative stimulus. It is when he's in school that Hiro discovers that what is going on is not normal. And it's also here that we see he learns the terms for what is going on, not just the emotion behind it. To further clarify what I mean by this is that children aren't taken seriously and their words are often brushed aside. Knowing the correct terminology can make a huge difference in adults taking them seriously. After Hiro and Ari share their trauma, they both come to a mutual understanding that despite everything, they want what's best for one another. And you know what? I'm a little conflicted because on one hand, this is a classic case of Lima syndrome, which is Stockholm Syndrome's counterpart that's rarely explored or talked about in stories. So Lima syndrome is defined by Healthline as a psychological response in which a captor or abuser develops a positive bond with a victim. When this happens, they may become empathetic to the individual circumstances or condition, which we see happening with Hiro and Ari. The relationship can also be considered a trauma bond, and I like this definition best. So it says that a trauma-bonded relationship usually refers to an unhealthy connection between a victim and their abuser. Sometimes it refers to any time that people go through a traumatic experience together and become unhealthily intertwined. And you may be wondering, where is said connection? Well, Hiro appears to be considerate, buying Ari her favorite clothes and makeup. He comforts her when she's upset, and they even sit on the couch and cuddle while watching TV. It was at this part of the story that I was starting to feel really depressed because they're trying so hard to conquer their trauma. Especially Ari, who's encouraging him despite how he treated her. Things only get worse. Hiro is becoming increasingly paranoid. He is in disbelief that someone could like him due to his mother's words. Now, I'm not sure in this scene if he was hallucinating or if this is for artistic purposes, but he does say that he believes that he will be abandoned. To test their relationship, he poses one question.
Want to go to the convenience store?
The two go outside wearing handcuffs, and Ari is aware that this may be a test, but she is thankful for the opportunity anyways. And as hopeful as I was that Ari was going to tell the cashier and be able to escape, she does end up just going back home with him and doing nothing. And more time passes and they do start playing house, and it's his birthday, I believe, so she's making him a cake. And I don't know why he's making that face, but clearly he still doesn't trust her after everything. Just like that, his mood switches and things escalate. Now, I honestly wanted to know what the heck is wrong with him because it's apparent that he has issues and trauma, but I'm unsure as to why he keeps switching back and forth like that. So, let's investigate. Now that I have my reading glasses on, we can bring out my diagnostic book. I believe that Hiro suffers from PPD, or paranoid personality disorder. Let me find the page. Here it is. To have this disorder, he would need to have 4 or more of the criteria listed here, and I'm going to focus on the first 4 because I believe they resonate with him best. Number 1, suspects without sufficient basis that others are exploiting, harming, or deceiving him or her. All she wanted to do was wish him a happy birthday, and he did not believe her. Number 2, is preoccupied with unjustified doubts about the loyalty or trustworthiness of friends or associates. I haven't shown the scene, but it's basically where they've gotten over their so-called captive and captor roles, and they're now acting as like more boyfriend and girlfriend. And she does insist that she does like him, but he doesn't believe her, and it's not because he kidnapped her, but because of how he's perceived in the outside world and how she would be too good for him. And she didn't even bother to leave when she had the chance, so I don't know why he's still thinking that. Number 3, is reluctant to confide in others because of an unwarranted fear that the information will be used maliciously against him or her. Hiro doesn't want to confide in Ari about something, and I don't know what it is. Well, no, of course I do know what it is because I read the book, but you guys don't know yet. But this fear is causing him to lose sleep and even hallucinate, so I do believe that this is a sign. Number 4, reads hidden demeaning or threatening meanings into benign remarks or events. In this panel, Ari is putting on makeup that he did buy her, but he's just like, no, you don't have to do that. Remember, I kidnapped you. You're not a model anymore. And then he gets even more upset and says, oh, you want to go back to modeling? You can't go back to modeling, remember? And he gets so paranoid that she's going to leave him again that he puts a collar back on her. Alrighty, now back to the story. Where were we again? Instead of fearing being killed, Ari approaches him as would a lover, pleading for him to understand. This is the first time that Ari has actually acknowledged what they are out loud, which is a silent and victim. But she wants so badly for things to be different. I believe that Ari is the first person in Hiro's life to see him as an actual human being. But as you know, I diagnosed him with PPD, and as his disorder states, it's still not enough, and he will never fully trust her. Hiro goes out shopping and leaves Ari home alone, and one thing she notices is that the padlock to the box that he keeps her in is unlocked. On accident or on purpose, she doesn't know. She wanders into another room and notices some jars. Anyways, Hiro's backstory. And yes, the manga does abruptly cut to Hiro's backstory, and at first I honestly was just like, who is this man? I thought it was his father or something. But nope, just Hiro. So what's creepy about this is that he's saying, it's fine if I killed her, right? And instead of this being something obsessive like we saw with Ari, it just appears to be a random woman on the street. Somehow she ends up at Hiro's house where he ends up strangling her to death. He dismembers her body and puts it in glass jars, all the while thinking about his mother, who is dead by the way. And surprise, surprise, Ari discovers that it is in fact not one person but multiple bodies. I also had to zoom in, but what in the world are these pictures? He's just over there posing with his victims, and then I think that little piece of paper is his little plan for dissection. Then Ari finds pictures of her, and of course you can see the scribbles, but also if you look closely, there's little scissor marks, which means that he plans to dismember her as well. My theory is that Hiro kills women as a way of inadvertently killing his mother. It's a way for him to regain a sense of power and control that he lost while being abused. Now Hiro does return, but he begins gaslighting her and trying to get her to come out of hiding, saying that it was a misunderstanding. Hiro honestly doesn't even have to gaslight her because she's already rationalizing his behavior and trying to convince herself that this is not the Hiro she knows. While Hiro isn't looking, she's able to grab a makeshift weapon and make her way towards a window. Hiro is still in his delusions, and now he's begging her to stay with him forever. But this was Ari's last straw, so she jumps. A trash bag breaks her fall, and Hiro goes after her. Once he catches up to her, he begins strangling her, and that's when she realizes that the Hiro she knew is gone. Ari wakes up tied to a chair. Hiro begins to torture her, treating her like one of his victims, ripping off her nails and mocking her pain. I would define Hiro as a sadist, something common in serial killers. Sadist is a person who derives pleasure, especially sexual gratification, from inflicting pain or humiliation on others. Now, I don't think that sadist is a personality disorder because it's not listed in the official DSM-5. However, I would say the personality that it's best tied to is ASPD or antisocial personality disorder. Out of the four, I would say that Hiro is a spineless sadist. He is insecure and lacks courage, and he compensates by exploiting others. In a later scene, Hiro actually verbalizes that exact sentiment. He says, "Now I'm the one doing the beating, so it feels good. Back when I was getting beaten, I couldn't accept that. This kind of thing, in order, it's finally my turn to hurt others." Somehow Ari is able to escape for a brief moment while Hiro isn't paying attention. He does catch up to her. In an attempt to disarm him, she asks for some affection. Then, now that Hiro is in Ari's position in the chair, you would expect him to have remorse or maybe even plead for his life. However, he just lets her strangle him. But she remembers their past together and once again can't go through with it. Here he's taunting her, saying that he will always come back again, and even if he goes to jail, when he's out, he will come and find her, and she will always live in fear. That was enough to get Ari to snap. A time skip occurred, and the next time we see Hiro, he is Ari's pet. I'm gonna stop here, but the story is actually far from over, and I would encourage you to read the manga yourself because there's actually a lot of stuff that I didn't put in this video. I would also appreciate any recommendations that are similar to the story, as well as your thoughts on their relationship. Thank you for watching, and until next time.